And we're back, and you just heard the gun for, whoops, that was the shuttle relay on the infield. Lots of things going on at Franklin Field. The men are lined up. It is the Penn Relays Carnival, and we're underway. It is the distance medley for the college men's division. And point that we made during the high school races, in these alleys, they're only 3 lanes wide. There's not as much real estate to spread out, and thankfully these more experienced collegiate runners aren't having any problem just settling in and waiting for the merge point on the back straight.
And that just exacerbates the same thing when you've got a full field here and a double waterfall. You want to get that pole as much as possible, get out and stay out of trouble, like we said. So again, 1,200, 400, 800, 1,600. This the 3-lapper starting things off in this college men's division. We've got Penn State, Auburn, Pitt, Georgia Tech, Michigan State, Penn in there again, Stony Brook, Troy, Siena, St. Joseph's, Ryder, South Carolina, Providence, Bryant, George Washington, Buffalo, Clemson, and Bucknell.
And the Auburn Tigers will take them through in 59 and change to the opening 400 in this leadoff 1,200 leg. Georgia Tech right on their shoulder.
One thing I appreciate about the DMR is that it's even numbers. You know, we see a lot of times, especially at Franklin Field, starting at different places and making up the stagger, and you got Pythagoras out here with a ruler, and so it's nice to just say, hey, there's the line, here's where you start, here's where you hand off, here's where you finish.
And again, the one of the nuances I mentioned yesterday, that the relay events all will end right in front of us on what we consider, I guess, the main straightaway, but the individual events will be on the back straight. So again, not something you normally see on a high school or college oval. All right, the field still bunched together, not much movement within the pack, but we did see Auburn move out of the lead. Georgia Tech slide to the rail, and now Buffalo from the Mid-American Conference and the Pitt Panthers from the ACC pushing it through 800 meters in just over 2 minutes. As the Pitt team of Jack Miller, Raymond Orikari, Jack Balick, and Finn Walsh scheduled to be in the DMR for Pitt.
Yeah, we saw Finn Walsh yesterday in that 1,500 with a nice finish.
So the top 6 teams, here comes Auburn. They gave up the lead earlier, but it's Michigan State on the outside. John Petruno, Jalen Smith, Gage Killewald, and Alexander Pensky supposed to be on the track. Distance medley relay for the Spartans, and Michigan State will be in the position to hand the baton off first. Their Big Ten rival Penn State Nittany Lions right behind them, followed by Auburn from the SEC.
That's a pretty good job by the outgoing runners, again, trying to match the speed and then quickly get to the pole. And as you can see, a little bit of shuffle there, if you will, just like we see in a 4x4, but they're trying to get out of trouble, and now look how much it's strung out here.
So 2:57, 9/10 of a second lead for the Spartans from Michigan State. Auburn now in the number 2 position, trying to hold off the Nittany Lions down the back straight. Penn State scheduled to counter with Ishii, Onwuka, Demole, and Dorenkamp. And I know Dorenkamp yesterday, I believe, was in the 1,500 or scheduled to run the 1,500 for Penn State for Coach John Gondak. And another baton pass coming up. The 800 runners as Penn State moves into the lead through the zone as the incoming runner from Michigan State falls to the surface.
Every exchange counts. Every exchange counts. It's not quite as precarious as a 4x1 or even a 4x4, of course. But like I said, with so many varying speeds, you got to match that speed, take the baton smoothly, and then get out of the way.
Well, and speaking of getting out of the way, kudos to the meet official who sort of ran blocker for the down Michigan State runner. I don't think I would have filled his position at the time.
That's why they get the big bucks. Well, here in the college men's DMR, we have the event record. William and Mary set that back in 1998, 9:38.41. So as we mentioned, there's the overall Penn Relays record, and then they keep tabs on the specific events as well. So we will see the Championship of America. We expect them to go a little quicker later on, but for now it's the college men mixing it up here on this 800 leg.
The Tigers of Auburn now back in the lead, and Pitt, the Panthers, with Coach Herbster working, I'm certain, with at least 3 of these runners in the 8, 12, and 16 leg. Again, Pitt, a program without a true their own outdoor track or indoor facility, which is a rarity, but I tell you, they've done some good things, especially on the distance side over the last couple of years. Coaching change, and the Panthers are challenging for the lead, coming up on the shoulder of the Tigers from Auburn and taking the number 1 spot.
I always love Pitt's jerseys there, the blue over the old school yellow and the cursive. It's a great jersey.
And the Panthers coming to the line. They will be in the lead, going from 800 to 1,600 for the anchor. They're going to have a 15-meter advantage, so a good gap for Pitt.
And this is a perfect example. 5:35 at the handoff this is a perfect example of a gap that's big enough to where it could be an advantage for the runner, but sometimes you'll see that guy just slow down and let everybody catch up. So maybe it's tough to be out in front by yourself, but what are your thoughts? How do you just keep pushing pedal to the metal and hope you can do it all alone, or do you maybe dilly-dally and let those guys catch up a bit?
I think you got to go for it. And again, if he were in between, if he were in the middle of the pack, we would say he's in no man's land, which he sort of is right now, out in the lead, as Clemson now moves up. First time that we've been talking about the Clemson Tigers. They benefited from a 47-4 400 run earlier in this distance medley relay, as they are starting to move on the Pitt Panthers, Clemson and Auburn from the SEC and the ACC.
Yeah, we got a couple of orange teams going at it. Clemson, that's Victor and Diwa with the stick there. Kenyon native, very just fluid, long stride. He seems very comfortable and very content. He has already closed that gap down on Pitt, making it a 3-man race here for now.
So you mentioned the record earlier, going back to 1998, William and Mary, 9:38.41. The leaders, the Panthers from Pitt, were 5:35 at the exchange. So a 4:03 mile, is that in the cards? Can we see a record being broken in this meet as well, or event?
I think so. You've got these guys that are in that low 4:0 range for their miles, and as we know, sometimes you put a stick in the hand and it's just a different ball game. So Pitt not willing to give up the lead just yet, but Clemson and Auburn sitting there completely content. I think we'll see some fireworks here on the final. And look, it's only 15 meters or so back to the other guys. If the guys up front kind of start worrying about each other, then they forget about the guys giving chase, and there's still potentially some running to do here with the chase pack. Yeah, the chase pack being led right now by Michigan State, with Providence now moving up to the shoulder. So lots of teams in contention. You can see that in the last picture we had heading into the turn, as the Pitt Panthers still leading the way, with Auburn and Clemson second and third, just a stride behind. So race strategy now. Obviously, if you're in front, you want to remain in front, but if you're sitting in the number 3 spot, you're just about 10 feet behind. When do you pick up the acceleration a little bit? I think whenever you make a move, you better be darn sure of it. Let's put it that way. 600 meters left. It depends what kind of runner you are, but here comes Auburn making a move. And Pitt had to make a hand check there, as got tight with the pass, but it is Auburn, Clemson, and Pitt with Providence very out front last night in the 10,000 meter runs. Their miler is closing in on the lead trio as they're coming up to the bell. That's Ryan Kinane for Auburn. He's run 4:04 in the mile. So they're at 8:42. They're going to have to run a blistering 56-second last lap to get the record. That's a pretty fast close. Kinane, though, 6th in the 1,500 meters a year ago at the SEC Outdoor Championship, so not afraid to mix it up. And neither is Ndiwa. Here he goes. Look at that stride. He opens it up, and he hasn't dropped the 2 chasers just yet, but coming up on 2:50 to go, this is another great finish. And Pitt is looking good right now, still in the number 2 spot. Not much real estate between first, second, and third. It's going to be down to these 3 teams, Clemson, Pitt, and Auburn. And here comes the anchor runner for the Panthers up on the shoulder. And you talked about the competition at the Penn relays, and the crowd is going to get into this one. They've taken shelter from the rain, but they're not left the stadium. Pitt, Clemson, and Auburn, and in between, here comes Kincaid from
Auburn at the line. The Auburn Tigers with the win, and they're running all the way past the finish line. 9:42.46.
Hey, you can run extra as long as you don't stop short. What a run by Ryan Kinane and Auburn. A little bit of back and forth, but timed it perfectly. Confident move on the final stretch, and he got it done.
So the Auburn Tigers outduel Clemson and Pitt to the finish line and win this one by 16 hundredths, with Pitt another 14 hundredths of a second back.
I love that. We're going to see faster times later. That's fine. We'll talk about that when it comes up. But what a race. Look at those three results, 9:42.46, 62, and 76. Going three wide on the final stretch of the Penn Relays. Can't ask for much more than that.
And they'll be talking about this one at least for a couple days on the trip back to campus. The Auburn Tigers with the win in the men's distance medley relay college division. Outside of the record, but still a great duel between three teams. And we'll step aside for just a moment, be back. We're under rainy skies at Penn. This is the 127th running of the Penn Relays Carnival.